Thanks, Anthony. Well, as of a few days ago, this looked like you had a two-game term handling the team. Now things have changed after the announcements yesterday. When did you know about this, and what are your plans now going forward with, it seems like, the job for foreseeable future?
Yep. So we found out over the last few days. Obviously, there's been some changes, and yeah, my focus is for however long it is, just to keep doing all I can to progress the team and prepare the team, starting in March, and that's it. Obviously, it's it seems a fluid situation, but that's my focus right now.
Sanjay.
Anthony, we talked a bit the other day. You talked a bit about your experience with Colorado, and that was the last senior head coaching experience you had. And it seems like a lot of people judge you for that in American soccer, right? But I was wondering if you talk a bit more about your experience with New Zealand, right? Coaching a full national team, being in charge of a program as you get set to lead this program for indefinitely, however long it is. What do you think from that experience with New Zealand can really help you over the next few months, 6 months?
Yeah. Similar as well. I had 3 years before that with the national team of Bahrain in the Middle East, and I think both Bahrain and New Zealand, what helps you, or what the experience you get is obviously preparing a team in short windows over the course of a cycle, preparing for tournaments, preparing for qualifiers. Both with Bahrain, the objective was to qualify for the Asian Cup. You have your regional tournaments like we do here, the Gold Cup. They have the Golf Cup there, and similar with New Zealand. The actual job is very similar in terms of how to build a roster, build a really clear game idea. And obviously tournament soccer and qualifiers. I think it's all consistent throughout all of those experiences.
In the back, to your left.
Good afternoon, Coach. It's Mauricio Duque from La Hora del FPC from Colombia. I want to ask you about your opinion about Colombian national team, and what do you expect about this match and the learning of this match? Thank you.
Yeah. A different type of test than the other night. They're a good team, really good team, good individuals, an aggressive team, really a lot of good 1v1 players, a lot of quick players, direct players, good on the counter-attack. And then within there they have, a handful of really, really top individuals that obviously we're familiar with here in MLS, but this is going to be a different test, and I would imagine, with the crowd that's going to come, it's going to be an intense game.
In terms of the crowd, we are approaching a sellout for tomorrow night's match. 25,500 sold as of today. We'll continue with Damien and then McKelly.
Hey, Anthony, you had 8 players make their debut Wednesday night. Now you're a couple of days past that. How do you think they all sort of handled the moment? And like you said, it's going to be another test tomorrow. What do you want to see out of that young group tomorrow?
Yeah, similar to the last game. I think we went into the game with a handful of players that we like, we know about. We've been monitoring them for a reason. And in that game, there were players that really stood out for us. Some of the younger players, some of the newer players we've spoke about after the players like Zendejas, Alan Sonora, Cade Cowell. There was a Brandon Vasquez. There's players that this is the first time in with us, and it will be the same tomorrow. And we firstly want to put them in a position to do well. And then we want them to show us what they can do. And their objective, firstly, is to perform, have a good game, and stay in the national team setup. That's what we're looking for going into tomorrow.
Michele.
Hi, Coach. In terms and part of expanding that question, are you looking to give minutes to all the players in camp? Is there a point where the result matters tomorrow? And what should we expect lineup-wise and all of that? Like, for example, Paxton Aronson, John Tolkien, that they didn't see minutes.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think coming into this camp, normally in a January camp, in fact, as far as I know, Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time we've had a January camp in such a short space of time. And I think the reason they've always been longer is because you have a large part of your squad are in pre-season, so you have to build up fitness levels to play in these type of games. So we haven't had that. And as a result of not having that preparation time physically, we had a really good idea before the first game what both lineups were going to look like and what substitutions were going to look like and when they were going to be taking place, because they're all based upon fitness levels. You know, both games, we have to have a minimum amount of players that can play 90 minutes, and that in itself has been a challenge. So that's been the starting point. So which players can play 90 minutes? Okay, they're locks for this game. They're locks for that game. And then between the balance of the team, it's then about which players can play X amount of minutes. You know, I think I mentioned at the beginning of the camp, the reason some of the players were late coming in is because we thought it was best that they would play their very first pre-season game with their club and then come into us. So we have players that have got 45 minutes under their belt. Now maybe we can push them to 60 minutes. Both lineups have been led by physical decisions, physical loading, because for sure, if it was in another way, there might be one or two different changes or different substitutions over the last game and this game coming up.
We'll go to our Zoom audience and begin with Kevin Baxter.
There we go. Hey, Anthony, can you hear me?
I can.
Hello?
I can hear you, yes.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Kevin.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I wanted to ask you about Brandon Vasquez. Other than the goal, which was pretty spectacular, what did you like about his performance? And he still has a decision to make, although he's played his whole career, junior career with age group career with the U.S. What do you think you need to do to make him say, yes, I am going to be with the U.S.?
Yeah, so the first part, I was really impressed with him. He took his goal really well. I thought his performance was good. I thought he made some really good runs in the box. We didn't always find him. We got into some good areas, and it was something we spoke about at halftime. We got in some good areas out wide, and we just failed to put in the right type of delivery for him. But the fact is, he made some really, really good runs in the box. So I was really pleased with him. The other side of it is he's another one who this is pre-season for him. And as you would expect in pre-season, without him having played many minutes, he's going to keep progressing over the next few weeks. So, and then with regards to his position in the national team, I think all we can do, and I think this is what we've done in the past, is all we can do is just do our best to put on a professional camp, prepare the teams well, make them feel special, make them help them understand what it means to represent this national team and who we are, make him feel inclusive in the group, but without putting any pressure on him. We really like him. We value him. I'd love if he chose to come to us, but we certainly won't be putting any pressure on him at all.
Next is Joseph De Hippolito.
Thank you. Anthony, can you hear me?
I've got you now, yes. Hey, Joseph.
Okay, good. What kind of an impression has Gaga Solina made in camp or and what makes him unique from the goalkeepers you have worked with in the past?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this the other day. I mean, when he's been in with us before, the first thing that hits you with him is he carries himself and he applies himself to this environment like a senior pro. He's like an experienced player because he takes his preparation so well. He is like an ultra professional. The way he carries himself, the way he speaks. He's someone who's just totally dedicated to preparing himself to be the best he can. And then on top of that, he's a really special goalkeeper. So he's someone, when you have a mentality like that, I mean that's it's fairly, you wouldn't believe it, but it's actually fairly rare for players to be that dialed into everything they need to do and then the willingness to do it. So he's definitely an exciting young talent that we're pleased to have in camp.
We'll go to Charlie Bone.
Anthony, two-parter from me, if you don't mind. The first question is January camp, do you see this changing or evolving as MLS's preseason start earlier? Do you think there needs to be an adjustment to the way things go, or do you find the right balance this year? And then my second one is, with you possibly being in charge for, we were told yesterday maybe until the summer, when do you feel like, is there a point when you can start to take some ownership and maybe add some of your ideas to what you've brought over from Greg?
Yeah, the length of the January camp, Charlie, I think that was your question. I think it could more time to help prepare the players would obviously be helpful. I think for everyone, the players, everyone. But this is the context of this camp, and I think in a few days we've been able to get some ideas across to this new young group that they've really, they've taken it on board in such a short space of time. So on that side, it's been really positive. And then going forward, I think it's really clear in the sense that we have a very clear game idea. We want to be a team that plays attacking soccer. We want to possess the ball. We want to be brave in possession. Defensively, we're clear about how we want to defend. So we naturally, whoever is in this seat and has this type of game idea, naturally you want to keep evolving and moving it forward. So that's the plan for us. Just keep progressing what we're doing. And then the other side of it, Charlie, is the fact that I think in March maybe we have 3 days on the training field going into the first game. So it's really tough to make wholesale changes anyway. So that's the plan for us, and that's the way we're looking at it.
Next will be Brian Sciaretta.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Anthony, for doing this. I know things have changed, and I know you might not exactly have your calendar all planned out yet with how things have gone, but in the months ahead, with a busy few months ahead, but when do you plan on reaching out to your European-based players and letting them know, staying in touch with them about the plans for the summer, and are you looking to start to bring in those guys from the World Cup, those key European-based players, in March or in June?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, Brian. I think when we get back, I think what we need to do is just sort of reflect on this last camp. Look at what we need to do, what we need on the staff. Are there any areas we need to fill, and really get clear on how we want the next camp to look on that side of it. And then 100%, then it starts about engaging with the players. I think in the past, that's been something I think as a staff we've done quite well. And for sure, going into March, myself, the staff will be reaching out to the players, connecting with them, updating them on what's going on, how we want March to look, what we need to start thinking about, and yeah, for sure, we will be engaging with the players after this camp.
And just as a point of information, all 3 of the upcoming windows are on the FIFA calendar for official competitions, so all players would be available for selection. Next will be Henry Bushnell.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Anthony, for your time. Got a 2-part question, and I don't know whether you've given much thought to this yet, but I figured I'd ask. One, like, would you want to be considered to be a permanent head coach of this team? Do you want to be a candidate to lead this team to 2026? And then is the second part, if you're not a candidate, are you willing to kind of just go window to window indefinitely here, perhaps to the summer, beyond the summer? Are you comfortable just leading the team on an interim basis as long as U.S. Soccer wants you to?
Yeah, my focus is just to keep preparing the team for as long as I'm asked to do it. I feel incredibly proud to have been asked to do this. You know, it's not like I'm coming into this situation cold. I have a relationship with, obviously, being involved in the last campaign, going through the cycle, the Nations League, the Gold Cup, all the qualifiers, and then obviously in Doha, building relationships with the staff, the players. So I feel very much connected to the team. I wasn't really expecting any of this. How this is evolved. But my focus is purely on when we get back. I'm going to focus on the next window, and if I'm still asked to do the one after that, I'm going to prepare for that one, and I'll continue doing all I can. This is a really, really special team. I know how important this national team is, and I want to do all I can to make sure it's in a good place for whoever comes in, whenever that is.
We'll take a few more questions and continue with Doug McIntyre.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you so much, Anthony, for doing this. I want to go back to McKelly's question real quick. There's an idea that this camp is more about, looking at individual players rather than the results. But coming off, what you said was a good performance but disappointing result the other night. I mean, do you have to win this game? I mean, is that the mentality? How much of an emphasis is there on winning this game that, doesn't count in the standings, but, maybe, you can never, not be in the habit of winning games in your profession. So I'm curious how much emphasis you put on winning tomorrow.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because we've, in our discussions as a staff around these games and in camp, I mean, firstly, the last game, I was proud of the team. I thought we did enough in that game to get a result. I think the way we attacked, I think the chances we had, I think we had 20 odd chances on goal. I think the players did a really good job, and I was pleased for them. And the result was really tough to take. However, what I will say is that, and I think I mentioned this before, the makeup or the lineups for these 2 games, and then the changes that we're making are all pre-planned, and really they're all changes that we have to. Sorry, the starting 11 and then the changes are changing. They're all positions and changes that we have to use in order to make sure we get through the game with everyone being healthy, and everyone having played in these 2 games. So that's the objective. We want to see the players. We want to see new players. Can we add depth to the squad? And also by doing that, we need to make sure that we've carry the players through these 2 games physically in the right way. And of course, we want to win every game we go into, but we are led by the physical capacity of each player in these games.
Jonathan Tannenwald.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Anthony, for the time. There was the Copa America news this morning, as I'm sure you saw, and I just wonder, how much almost sort of clarity should things at the moment, and we were all everybody sort of trying to figure out how the next 3.5 years was going to go, that this really puts a real serious point on the timeline that people can look to and says, yes, we're going towards the World Cup, but we also have this really big thing to look forward to as well.
Yeah, I think it's amazing news. I think it's exciting, and it's something that I know all the players for sure are looking forward to, and it's going to be amazing for the fans in this country. And so yeah, I mean it's great news. I think it's great for growing the game here, and it's exciting, really exciting for sure.
Last question comes from Andrew Jones.
Thank you, Michael. Again, Anthony, just wanted to ask you your evaluation of Jalen Neal's performance after looking back on tape against Serbia, and what's been the most enjoyable or at least entertaining team bond moment that you've had this week with the squad?
You know, I've seen Jalen a few times, obviously with the 20s. He came into camp with us, not with the first team, he's with the 20s, but we worked with him. So I got to see Jalen quite a few times. And going into the game, you never know, especially with a player that's not even played a game for his, a league match for his own club team. So going into the game, you never quite know how he's going to handle an occasion like this. You know, a debut game for representing his country, you just never know. But all I can say is I kept turning around to the bench every time he passed the ball, every time he did something. I kept turning around and just, you know, I was so impressed. So impressed with, you know, how calm he was on the ball. He showed confidence. He had moments where he showed a lot of maturity as a player. So I'm really pleased for him. He did a great job. And with regards to a bonding moment, I'm not sure. I mean, it's an interesting question. I would just say, you know, I know the staff really, really well. Obviously, I know a bunch of the players well from this last campaign, and I just think the camp has been a really enjoyable camp. It's been calm, it's been focused, it's been professional, it's been enjoyable, training's been good. And I would say that is a large part to everyone that we have in camp. Really good staff, everyone's clear on their roles, everyone's clear how to execute in their own departments. And then on the playing side, just having the senior guys in have added, you know, have helped drive the expectations on and off the field. So overall, it's been, I would say overall, just the players and the staff pulling together and having created a camp that's been really, really enjoyable to be a part of.